Hello and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. Joined as always with Mitchell Pattinson and Ethan Daffy. How are you, boys?
Very good. Very
what a big win.
Yeah, I think that win was probably one of our most professional wins this year. I think probably biggest margin since I think 2013 or something like that. So no, it was good. Good to roll them frauds.
Yeah, it was absolutely huge. Can't believe some of us were actually worried going into the game, but obviously the result being Eagles 8-5, 53 to the Blues 17-14, 116. What's that? 63 points, is it? We're now 11-5. I think we're still fifth. We're fifth on the ladder at the moment. Just a huge win. I think it's also the first time a team has been kept scoreless in 2 quarters. For 102 years, something like that, anyway. But how good, boys? How good?
Hey. No, I think it's good that we kind of, like as Daff said, I just think that we kind of just need that professional performance because we had it against North Melbourne when we probably should have won by 50, and we did win by 50. But I know that I was worried during the week. I was a bit like, a dad game, be like, I don't really know what exactly will happen in this game. I still expect us to win, but I'm just glad that we kind of just blew it out because I had us by 22 points, but I'm just glad that we won by a whole lot more.
Yeah, almost tripled it. I had us by 36, I think it was. Ethan, do you remember how much you had us by in the end?
Yeah, I think I had us by 17. So I think for mine going into the game, it's never easy going over there and beating them, especially they've had a pretty good home record, not this year, but in past years. So they're always one of those teams when you look at the fixture and go, it's a bit of an uneasy fixture, but it's good to get the hoodoo out of the way.
Well, I think it was the last 7 prior to this one, wasn't it, that we had lost or something like that, and then so they win 7 and then we win 1, and not only do we win by 10 goals, which is crazy. Yeah. To think about. So we'll go through. I had the game going whilst I was working, so you boys probably watch more of it than I do. I did, but there wasn't a huge amount of disposals in that sense, but we did definitely have a lot more than them. Like, it seems like we just controlled the ball. We were pretty much all class. Like, if you look at the stats, we literally lead in pretty much everything. Inside 50s, we had 70 inside 50s, which is crazy, to their 34. So I think that just speaks volumes of how much we were able to get it in there, but also restrict them on getting it in there as well. What were your thoughts there, Reece?
Yeah, for mine, I think, that first quarter that really just started us off. I've never seen a Carlton, in my whole life, I've never seen a Carlton quarter that flawless. Obviously, we probably could have put more on the scoreboard in the first quarter, but, it was 34-0. Are you really complaining? Probably not. But yeah, like the whole game, we just, apart from the second quarter, which I'll try and forget about. I don't know what was going on that quarter, but no, it was good. Like three quarters, and the second quarter they were due to come. West Coast, they're a home team. They got a little bit of control. They had a few lucky kind of goals where we gave it to them a few times, but it was good to put the foot down.
Well, that's exactly right. I think their first one came off the back. Was it off the back of the 50-metre penalty there? Was that the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Jack
of course
Darling.
they're going to come.
Jack Darling. Oh, yeah.
Of all people. As you said, of course they're going to come. Like, people have like an expectation of this big 4-quarter effort where, like, even your really bad teams, which, North probably are more so than West Coast at the moment, but like they're going to still show glimpses, and even if they only lead for 5 or 10, not lead, but they win 5 or 10 minutes of footy, as long as we're winning they didn't score for 2 quarters or 2 quarters, whatever. Like, I think it was just an absolute huge performance.
Just quickly on that. I think people underestimate, not talking enough about our third quarter. That it was a real slog, and they made it a real slog in that third quarter, and we didn't drop our heads, and we found a way to get control in that third quarter.
Very defensive.
But it was just really kind of built the base for the fourth quarter. Because it was really like I think they had multiple, stoppages in their inside 50 at the start of the third, and we just held up well, and then we attacked when we had to. So I think the second half was great for mine, and yeah, it's just good to see these boys are starting to mature as a team.
Absolutely, mate. And it's through players like that were, almost not delisted in a sense, or like Matthew Kennedy. Like I think he played a great game, and just his story in general has been absolutely sensational. So is Zach Fisher as well. I mean, he signed for a few years earlier in the week, and then kicked 2 goals, whatever it was.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, that was great to see. But I mean, I think our midfield, was just back to its best, so to speak. Because like clearance is 45 to 33, like that's 7 above our usual. Just absolutely smashed them in the clearances, we lost the hit outs, but I think TDK still played pretty well considering.
In my opinion, he beat Nadanui yesterday. Nadanui had no impact on the game, in my opinion, apart from that second quarter where he was kind of going longer hit outs. But apart from that, really, I think Tommy had the wood over him.
Absolutely. Pato, how do you see TDK's performance, mate?
I think it was. I think overall it was kind of expected for TDK to kind of dominate in that sense. I personally think TDK didn't dominate as much as I probably expected to in a way. Like, yes, of course, he still won the contest. I still think he did, definitely. But I still think Nick Nat's still a threat. And I think TDK, and especially the midfielders around kind of, even if Nick Nat did win the tap, the midfielders kind of knew where Nick Nat was going to hit it. So I think TDK was absolutely fantastic. And he keeps on getting better every week. So it's just so pleasing to see that all these guys are gelling together, and just each week they keep on improving. And I'm telling you, the chemistry within this side, it just keeps on getting better.
Well said, mate. And also just on that, for the first quarter, because I did watch pretty much the whole first quarter, I think most of our scores came from the ability to, like, when they turned the ball over to actually score, didn't it? Like, whereas when we actually won I'm not sure why, but when we actually won the ball, we didn't seem to score as much or get a goal out of it. But when they turned it over, just that fast pace to get it down and kick a goal was great. Like Harry up the ground, usually, you somewhat come to expect Charlie up the ground, but Harry up the ground, I think I haven't got it in front of me, 4 tackles maybe, Pato?
Yeah. One thing that I have to say, and it set the standard straight away, was Harry Mackay's tackle. How good was that? Straight away, set the standard. Like, I don't know exactly who he was on, but it was on a quickish player from West Coast, and straight away get into him, and just that sets the standard and that lifts the side. And I could just tell that as soon as Harry did that, key forward, he's not meant to be quick, and it just shows that like Harry's a different breed. So I think that as soon as he did that, we pretty much won the contest from there.
Absolutely, mate. I completely agree. I mean, that's the thing where you compare him to like Hawkins and Cameron, who are great, but I don't see I think it's more Cameron goes up the ground and he's a great player. Hawkins more so is a stay at home. Where we had Charlie go up the ground usually, Harry go up the ground this week, and as you said, lay that tackle, end up with 4 tackles, whatever it was, and be probably arguably best on in my opinion, Ethan.
Yeah, he's definitely my favourite player at the club. I think, for the amount of... Just quickly, though, where are the haters from last week talking about, Carlton can't kick set shots? Good teams find a way to back it up and be better. And Harry and Charlie were superb. But, the way Harry just, like, he's matured so well, and I'm just proud of all the boys who've they've stuck to their guns even though through shit times they've stuck to the process, stuck together considering how bad we've been. A lot of teams tend to separate, but these boys they're reaping the rewards, and geez, Harry he's a different breed, like you said, Pato. He's amazing to watch.
I think one thing on that, and I think you said it perfectly there, it was just like the haters from last week, they talk so much crap, but then the next week they came out saying, how good are we? How good are we? How good is Harry Mackay? How good is Charlie Kernan? I'm like, you need to stick fat with them. Like last week, of course we weren't happy with our performance, but trust them. Yeah. Like they're doing stuff right. Like this is a team that is progressing, and it's 1 year under Vossi. Imagine them next year. Imagine them the year after. And I'm telling you right now, the expectations are so low right now that we could win the premiership. Like I'm so like, I don't mind what happens. Like if we lose in the semi-final, I'm still happy. It's a pass for me. But if we win a premiership, wow! And that's under 1 year under Vossi. So I know. I just think the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. 100%.
Tell you what, we beat 17th, and we're winning the premiership, Pato. That's good. I like that.
Mate.
Absolutely, mate. And just 63 points, and just I was trying to find it now. Like tackles inside 50 as well, like 14-5, and even marks inside 50, which you expect, I guess, in the sense that you have to score such a high score. It was just absolutely huge. Like 10 goals between the two forwards was crazy. And as you said, all the people giving Harry shit last week, and every week where it doesn't pay off, of course it's not going to pay off. But you see people kick a drop punt and it not pay off though. But they don't cop shit because they do it the stock standard way. Yeah, Harry does it a bit differently, but if that works for him, it works for him. What was it, 5 goals, 3, something like that, was it?
Yeah, and he's cracked into the top 10 of the Coleman, and he missed 6 weeks. So don't tell me they're not the best duo in the competition. Do not fucking tell me.
Well said, mate. How good was it to see Jacob Wiedering back as well? I mean, you wouldn't have known he was there in the first quarter because he didn't really need to do anything. But how good was it to see him out there, Ethan?
It was great. It was a perfect game to just get back into it. Obviously, match fitness is very different to full training, so it was the perfect game for him. Didn't have to do much, and in my opinion, I probably think that's probably the least he's ever had to do for Carlton in a game. Like when we're crap, he's had to stand up tall and take 700 marks in a game. He had to do nothing yesterday, really. Just did his thing. He did not have to do much. His teammates were like, "Yep, we'll do it for you, mate. We'll get you back in easy." At least he had to do for his whole career.
You just said then about how training is different to match fitness. I mean, that was pretty much training, wasn't it? Really. So anyway, we'll go back to you, Ethan, and you can take us away, mate, with the matchups.
Yeah, mate. So we'll start off with Tim Kelly against Sam Walsh. Two, obviously, heading into the game, probably two very in-form midfielders. I think Tim Kelly's had a pretty decent year considering they haven't been fantastic. What were your thoughts on this matchup, Pato, and how do you reckon Walshy went? Because for mine, I thought he wasn't in one of his best games. I thought he was all right. He just took a while. I think the last quarter showed who he is. Just the first 3, I think particularly him and Cripper, just a bit slow to start.
Yeah. Took the words out of my mouth there, Daffy boy. I think especially with Walshy, like every single week, it's either the Cripper or the Walsh kind of dominates, or you get the combination of Kennedy, Hewitt, Doherty, like all these guys. So I'm happy if we get the win. I don't mind because generally, like we all like every single week, I feel we always have a shining light, and we just have a different type of way to win, and especially with Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow winning as well, like they would dominate the game by a country mile. So I don't think Walshy really had to do much, but I don't know. I don't know who really won this contest because it's not like Kelly really dominated the game either. So I probably think Walshy probably just got the chocolates there just because he got a few more touches and they probably were a little bit more effective. But yeah, I still think Kelly had a all right game.
Yeah, and for mine, geez, it was good to see Walshy, Cripper, and Harry stand up in that last. That's one of the best. You look to your stars, you see the best teams. Melbourne, Petrarca finds a way to kick a goal in the later stages of a game. But Jesus Christ, they were good. For the small part you watched, Sammy, what were your thoughts on Walshy's performance, mate?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Like I said at the start, like how it wasn't, although we smashed him in possession and disposals of the footy, there's no huge disposal getters. Does that make sense? Like there's no one cracked 30 for us, and they only had Andrew Gaff, like 28s and 25, so which is crazy. But I think that shows as well, Harry pushing up the ground. Like people that don't usually get disposals were sort of probably getting, more so. I think Tommy DeConing 16, which we'll get to in a second. But I think Walsh wasn't his best game ever, but kicked a goal, got 25 disposals, so look, you can't really complain, can you?
Yeah, I think for us, it's the expectation we put on these guys, and but 25, you go, geez, we'll take that any day of the week. It's just the standard that he's shown, and that's credit to him. We'll move on to the next matchup. We touched on it before. And it's the ruck contest. It's TDK against Natanui. Who won the battle, Pato? Who won the battle? Give it to me.
I mean, we touched on it a little bit before. So obviously with the stats, you kind of looked at, Nick Nat probably won. But as you mentioned, like I probably think Tom DeConning won by a whole lot more. Like, it's just the impact that he has. Nick Nat, yes, he can get the touch maybe off, and maybe they can get off and running with a good tap by Nick Nat. But TDK gets around the ground more, and we called it during the week. Like, that's where he's going to impact the game. That's where he can really get ahead of the game. And yeah, like, I mean, as I said, the stats probably look like Nick Nat. I mean, he got 9 more hit outs, but my word, TDK was, in my opinion, so much better.
For a guy at that size, quickly, Simon, before you, no, he had no impact on the game for mine. I just don't think he's coming to this side. They're all talking about him coming back, and he's done nothing really. And for me, he's one of those ruckmen that I know he's that X factor, but for me, guys like Gawn and guys like, they're just so much better. They're more well-rounded players. You know, Nad Nui might kick a goal after the sign here and there, but really, like, TDK showing that he can be one of those ruckmen that's well-rounded. He's involved in handball chains. He's hitting targets. He's kicking goals. He's going back in defence, taking marks. Like, Nad Nui was off the ground most of the game. So, like, he was knackered after the first 5 minutes. So that was a bonus for us. What were we going to say, Sammy?
Pato says stats wise, you say Nick Nat wins, and I have to completely disagree, because obviously back in 30, 40 years ago, the old style ruckman, or probably a bit of a discredit to him, but you stand there and hit it. That's what you're always told as a kid. But it's so much different now. Like, the way he gets around the ground, like, he was third for clearances in the game with 7, and 16 disposals to Nick Nat. 7 disposals. Yes, he may have got the hit outs, where we still won the clearances. So that doesn't really bother me as too much.
Those numbers are domination, really.
But to double his disposals, to have seven clearances, to be involved in handball chains, and get 11 kicks, 10 kicks, 6 handballs is just, in my opinion, insane. And it's also 2, in tackling too, 2 tackles. Like, I think he absolutely smashed Nick Nat, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't think we realise, a lot of Carlton will realise TDK is a real deal, man. He is the real deal. Like, you're talking about his brother, who I reckon is fantastic too, which we'll get a verse next week. I think they're both emerging talents. And they're just the way they go about it. Like, they're young boys. Like, they're playing in very good sides. So every week he's going to have to come up against a team that's going, fuck, we got Carlton, we've got to hit them hard. You're not North Melbourne, where you got nothing, you just nothing to lose. You've always got something to play for every week. So, and I think that's just going to help him, honestly, moving forward.
Absolutely. Completely agree, mate.
Yep. So we'll move on to the big Harry Mackay against Barras. I think we might know who won this battle. Pato, give us a little rundown of what you thought of this matchup.
Oh, mate, this one's actually quite tough to call, really. Looking at the stats. Looking at the stats, boys. We've been calling it. Last week, I had them under the pump. Like, key forwards have to step up. Forward line have to step up. My God. There's nothing.
They did more than step up. They did.
But I think one thing about, like, 5 goals, 3, like, they could have kicked 8 each. They could have kicked 8 each. Generally, like, I'm telling you, it is flag. No, I won't say. Like, let's just keep it down, or, like, let's be real, we beat West Coast. It was expected. But I think overall it was kind of more just down to Harry Mackay just dominated, and his presence around the ground. That's what we've missed for the past few weeks, just the presence. And it's not like Barras is shit. Like, Barras has been pretty good for
I don't years. Yeah. For me, I actually rate him very high. I think it's more on their key backs, their other key backs, because when he had McGovern, when McGovern was, fit at an AFL standard, they were working well together. He just seems to be, like, he'd be perfect with a Weedering, Barrett. Like, they're both, he just doesn't have that, had that Bazzo bloke who's a young guy, and that, and the other guy was on Charlie or Harry, I don't know the name.
Yeah, Edwards? No, it wasn't Edwards.
Xavier Edwards, I think. Xavier Edwards.
Edwards,
he's another young guy. I thought he actually matched that pretty well. So, but yeah, for me, Harry beat him easily. Sammy, what were your thoughts on Big H?
It's a pretty tough matchup for anyone, I would have thought. And it was impossible really to stop him. I mean, they're both on Charlie and Harry from the get-go. To share with 15, 16 maybe marks between the two of them. They were jumping at everything, clunking marks. 15 and 13 disposals, which is quite big for, especially Harry. 13 disposals, pretty good from your main forwards. It was a tough job, but obviously Harry got the win, I would have thought.
Yeah, forwards were fucking amazing. When they drafted, imagine Steven Silvani watching that game on the weekend. He drafted those boys. He put faith in those guys. We've got to shout out to Sauce, actually. Because, few haters when he got the boot. So it's starting to pay dividends. Now we'll move on to the last matchup. And obviously the big Weeders, like I said before, didn't really have to do much. Did not have to do much at all. Against, their key forwards really didn't have an impact either, just due to I think Kennedy's done, in my opinion. I just don't think he's got it anymore. I think he is done. I think
he's confirmed, yeah. I'm pretty sure he's done for the...
Yeah, I think he is. I don't, there's no other club going to pick him up. What is he, 35? You finish on a high note. What were your thoughts on Wiedering's performance, Pato?
Yeah, I think it was a game that he probably needed. Like, as you said, I think, with Josh Kennedy, you're not going to expect too much. And then even if he did go to Jack Darling maybe a little bit, they're both past their prime. So I think it was a good game for Wiedering to get back into it, I feel. Both very made forward. So I think it was good for him to kind of get back into it in that sense, because he didn't have to do much, but he still had to do a little bit because, Kennedy still kicked 2 goals. Jack Darling kicked 1. So they didn't do a lot, but I just think it was good to see Wiedering and Young together once again, especially with Young progress in the past few weeks. That duo, I'm telling you,
Young, he was fantastic. He was fantastic, taking marks. Yeah, that duo, 2 ends of the ground, we have duos. I know we used to have Liam Jones, but having those 2 down back and Charlie and Harry up forward, you're not going to be losing many games of football, seriously. And you got mids, obviously, that are pretty handy as well. It's exciting times because whoever's listening right now, just enjoy it. Enjoy it right now. Soak it in. Get a bit of pep in your step. Get a bit of cockiness because it's the right time right now to do it. Sammy, what were your thoughts on Weeders? Was it just great to have him back?
Great to have him back, mate. As you said, it was a great game for him to be back, where there was not as much... I was saying there was much pressure. He was still playing on champion in Josh Kennedy, who I do agree is done. I said it last week. He doesn't look sort of really... I don't know if interested is the right word, but... he's he's been playing an average team all year, so give him some credit. But it's good to see him back this week, get a game under his belt before we play Geelong, which is obviously the real test. But I think he played well for what he had to do. And we'll get to another backman in a second in Lockie Plowman. But as you said, I think people don't understand just having them players out. We talk about our injury list, and they like Jacob Wiedering. He brings what he brings in the sense that he's Jacob Wiedering, but he brings another player able to whether it's sort of play a bit differently and whatever. Where it's all the pressures on Youngie or whatever, and Plowman to an extent as well, I guess. But whereas now you bring Wiedering back in, it makes everything so much easier. He killed it.
It's in a way, I think it's heavily talked about when Wiedering's in the side. You tend to attack. You tend to take more risks with ball in hand. You got the ball in hand. You're not thinking, "Fuck, if I turn this over, they're going to score." Like last year, we'd turn it over and they just cut through us in the middle, and it'll be a goal. This year, obviously, as a team, defense is helping. But when Weeders is there, we just seem to have better exits out at D50, and just blokes like Fish trying to take kicks on, which he's been fantastic. But it's just that, I don't know, it's just that confidence. And I think if we can get that confidence going right time of the year, I'm not sure who's going to stop us scoring.
Yeah, I agree. And I think confidence is the right word. Like I said, you get Jacob Reed, you get the talent and everything that he has, but you get the confidence that if you do fuck it up, which you don't want to do, like as you said, he's there, Young is the other side. But is that the last one? That's the last matchup?
Yeah, last matchup, mate.
Yeah, sweet. So we'll go to run something I really want to talk about, and Speechless is not here, so to be less sort of objective, but Lockie Plowman. What were your thoughts on his game? He does cop a lot of shit. He did seem to cop more shit this week. I am a fan of him overall, but Ethan, what were your thoughts, mate?
For me, I think this year has been one of his better years. He's a job doer. I think people need to think about that. He's not a superstar. But for mine, I think just in that second quarter, I'm not hating him at all. Like, if he stays in the team, he stays in the team. I'm not hating on the guy. I like him. He's a Carlton player. We all love him. But it's just in that second quarter, it's just a decision-making errors. You know, when you have control of the ball and you turn it over. Even the one, I'm not sure if you're watching, Sammy, I'm sure Mitch would know. The ball went to Hewitt in a one-on-one on the wing, and Plowman decides to throw his body straight through Hewitt, drops the mark, and he turned it over. And he just made crucial errors. I think that's what he does. Like 9 out of 10 times, he's not going to make a mistake, but the 10th time, it's going to be a fucking crucial one that costs you a goal. He's in a tough position. He's playing back pocket in an AFL side. So, what were your thoughts, Pato?
It's so tough to just take all the positives out of this win, and that's what I really don't want to do. But you can't just shit on this guy. Like Lockie Plowman, like as you said, he's actually been. I reckon he's been actually a little bit better than good. I reckon he's been probably one of our better players. Me personally, I reckon he's. No, I mean obviously behind, but as you said, he's a job doer. If he does his job, Voss picks him in the side. That's what he's done. The past few weeks, that's what he's done. Voss picks him. If you go out and do this, do your job, you get a game next week, no matter what. If you're playing in my side, no matter what. So, of course, I expect him to be dropped next week. I think that's where we are as a club. If you don't play well in one game, you should feel pressure the next week. So, it's very tough because I've actually rated Plowman quite highly this year. But it's just it's unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah, just initial thoughts during the game. I was just thinking, oh no, I was a bit worried during that second quarter. But you look at, they scored 53, and he's a part of that back six. So you go, fuck, they've done their job. So there's different perspective for mine. I know it's a team effort, and he made errors, but like you said, probably tick those boxes.
One thing also is, sorry, Sam, but one thing. But who was his opponent? Because I would probably say maybe Willie Rioli, but I don't know exactly who.
I think Sardi locked Liam Ryan. Well, Sardi was a North. Yeah, he had 3 touches. 3 touches. Yeah. Yeah.
But then say with Willie Rioli, everyone's saying, oh, yeah, no, Plowman, dude, he kicked 1 goal.
And it was a tin-ass goal. He kicked it from 50 and dribbled through. So, yeah, I know. So he probably did his job, to be honest. I know.
He did his job.
It's just for mine. We can't be making those mistakes.
Spot on.
Like Geelong, but it's a grey area. But I think he might stay in. Look at it like that, and you go, fuck, he might stay in. So, yeah, I'm not worried either way, to be honest.
I think there's different ways to look at it. As you said, you can look at it as his opponent only kicked 1 goal. But you can also look at that. You can also put that down to the fact that of their inside 50s, and not a lot of West Coast people did kick a lot of goals too. So you can look at it like that, and you can look at it as does the skill errors outweigh that, which it probably does. But I'll just say this though, and Pato sort of touched on it. I think it's really ironic when people have the confidence in Voss and they back Voss to the heels, which is great. We all do, but then say this player's shit. Like if you back Voss, the coach. Then in my opinion, you back his calls. He selects Plowman. So you can't, it's sort of a bit weird in that sense that you're backing this person to make these calls and they're saying they're so good, but then you're saying this is stupid. He's the one making the call though. So it's you know what I mean? I don't see how you can do that in my opinion, but.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
Couldn't have said it any better. Agree, mate.
You could have said that better though, but no, it was good. All right, I think that's about it. We'll go to best on ground now. There's a lot to pick, lot to choose, and I think I know who Ethan's going to go, but we'll go to you, mate.
Yeah, many. I think Carlton had Bam Bam as their best on ground. He probably was. He probably was up there. I think he was best game of the year for him, just being that standout midfielder, 4 quarters of footy. But for mine, Charlie Curnow, he's taken marks left, right, and centre. He was nailing shots from everywhere. And how good is it having two key forwards. I know last week they didn't kick straight, but two key forwards they can kick. You know, every team seem to have two key pillars, and one of them can't fucking kick. Like guys like Charlie Dixon, you got Marshall and Dixon for Port. Marshall is dead-eye dick in front of goal, and then Dixon, you may as well flip a coin for him. For these two on the weekend, I know it's a 5-3, but fuck, they were just nailing shots when we needed it. And Charlie, it's so good to have him back.
How good. Pato, you got the same, mate, or just something different?
Oh, I don't know if I mean, me personally, like so many players. Like, very quick shout out. I think Adam Chera responded fantastically. Yep. Like 27 touches. I think he was probably one of those guys, and I'm just like, God, I wish he could have one of those games where he just kind of has that impact, and you know that he's impacting the game, and he did that yesterday. But I completely agree with Daffy Boy. I think Charlie Curnow, his presence once again, just I think Harry Mackay, he probably had a little bit more of an opportunity. Like, well, me personally, I'm choosing Charlie Curnow because he had more opportunities to dominate the game more than Harry. Like, I think Harry probably converted in a way. I don't know why I'm saying this, because they both kicked 5 goals, 3, but I just feel like their disposals, especially, I feel like Charlie probably used a little bit better. I don't know how to explain it. They were both fantastic. I don't know who to choose, but I'm going with Charlie Curnow just because it's just so great, because I think he dominated when he had to. Like, when the game was on the line, he stepped up, and Harry stepped up, and it was just fucking fantastic.
There it is. It took 30 minutes, but there's the first answer. But no, it could be down to me not watching the game as much. But I had Harry for mine. I just looking at the stats wise, it's all fairly similar, especially goals and behinds. But just the 4 tackles for Harry, I thought was quite great. Like, really, like, Durd's got 5, as you'd expect. Still great. Don't get me wrong. And 2 goals, he was great. But Harry, the big fella, 4 tackles. Like, if you get tackled by Harry, you know you've been tackled too. And as you said, that tackle, sort of the start of the game almost there. I think it was pretty early, wasn't it? Whenever it was, like, that was great. And Harry for mine. But I think they're all good options. You put about a lot of players.
Yeah. But like, I think I've been saying it most of the year, and I probably touched on it last year as well. The guy's probably the best athlete at the club and the league. Like, the guy is ridiculous. What is he? Almost 7 foot. He's probably the fastest player in our team. He is arguably our fastest player. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, the numbers he puts up, like pre-season, he does those running things. He beats all the mid every team. Like, I think it's the Run Project or whatever it is. He was doing with all midfielders. He was doing a running program with midfielders, and he was beating midfielders. And like, his endurance is enormous. The way he goes up the ground, pushes back, takes a mark, kicks a goal. He's just a professional, Harry, and it gets talked. It doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think. Talk about Walshy putting in hard yards, but I think Harry's one of those guys who really just knuckles down and does anything for his team, and
also improves his game. He knows what to do.
He's not satisfied. He's not satisfied at that level. Gets better and better. He's 24. He's 24.
24.
Yeah, that well said, and I think that's a great example of a player that done it almost the hard way, come to the twos, and done it the right way. We've had, we've been in trouble for rushing players or doing whatever, but in the past. But I think he was just a great example of a player that really transitioned from the twos player. He was always a good twos player, into put some size on. He's huge because obviously being that tall, you need to put some actual size on, and to where he is now, it is absolutely great to see. And I think that's about it, boys. Anything else to add?
Big preview coming up. Probably biggest game of the year, arguably.
Yeah, definitely.
Biggest opportunity. I think the reason why we're happy about this West Coast win, I know they're 17th, but every year when we're shit and we've got an opportunity to get up on these teams that have lost on the weekend, Richmond losing, St Kilda losing by a fair bit, we always lose. We always fuck it up. But this year, we've found a way to do it, and we still haven't lost 2 in a row, like I've said. We still haven't lost 2 in a row. So, too easy.
Well said, mate. Absolutely brilliantly said. And I think that's about it for another episode of Baggers Chats. Thank you for staying with us and watching or listening, wherever you get your content. And if you're not already, like, follow, subscribe, do it all. And, Pato,
And as always, boys, the Baggers.